These are the top 10 worst execution methods to ever be used in human history. Number 10. Brazen Bull. Red Bull gives you wings in the commercials, but in real life it would give you death by deep fry. The Brazen Bull was a brutal machine of execution created by the definitely not mentally unstable Parallos of Athens for the definitely not evil and tyrannical Phalaris of Agrigentum. In this form of execution, the condemned would be shot inside of a hollow bronze bowl, then an acolyte would start a fire underneath it, heating the metal until it roasts the victim alive. Maybe it was ingeniously designed or hatefully thought out, but the bowl had a hidden feature, and that hidden feature was to become an acoustic amplifier, using the screams of the victim to instead sound like the bellows of an angry bull. Because hearing a man scream for mercy, as you can imagine, is much less cool and kind of annoying. Now, you may be wondering, what the hell did you do to get this punishment? Well, you could acquire this punishment by committing treason, partaking in rebellion, or other acts deemed highly offensive to a tyrant or ruler, which Phalaris definitely wasn't. Number 9. Lingchi. Lingchi, or Death by 1,000 Cuts, was carried out in China under both the Tang and Qing dynasties. I swear, the Chinese just bounce a few ping pongs off of different pots and pans and are like, there we go, that's our new dynasty's name. Anyway, this punishment went about just how you would expect it to go, where the criminal was slowly cut many hundreds of times over an extended period, leaving them dying in a state of extreme agony. And sometimes they would run out of places that were not cut, so they would just start cutting deeper into the places that were already cut, resulting in some of them to lose entire limbs. The reason a person would get this punishment is actually pretty understandable. In order to be condemned to Lingchi, you would have to commit treason or murder your own family members. So, yeah, they actually kinda deserved it. Number 8. Impalement. We all know about Vlad the Impaler, right? Also known as Dracula? Well, what you probably didn't know is that he was a massive freak. It's probably because of Vlad that vampires are always so weird. I say this because his favorite punishment by far was impalement, where this execution would start by inserting a large stake through the body of a victim, often through the rectum or vagina, until it exited out of the mouth, throat, or elsewhere. And sometimes the stake was greased, so that it would not pierce vital organs to prolong the agony, allowing the victim to stay alive for a longer period of time to experience the punishment further. See, it's like I said, Vlad was Diddy levels amount of freaky. This brutal mode of execution was used for serious crimes like treason, murder, or rebellion. Oh, so you want to be a pain in my ass? Okay then. I'll show you a real pain in the ass. Number 7. Crucifixion. I already covered this in the last video, so it will be a quick one. Crucifixion was one of the most notorious methods of execution from the Roman Empire. You know, because they did this to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. But just to help you grasp how uncool getting executed by this method was, the condemned would be nailed or tied to a cross and left hanging, with death coming slowly by asphyxiation, shock, or dehydration, and if it took too long, the Romans would then break their legs so that they couldn't use them for added support, allowing them to die quicker but still feeling the same amount of pain they would miss out on if they stayed up there. This form of execution was dealt out to people found guilty of rebellion, treason, or sedition, or in very, very rare cases, being the son of God. Number 6. Burning at the stake. As we already discussed in this video, dying to fire really sucks ass, where it is known as one of the cruelest modes of execution during the witch trials in Europe and the Spanish Inquisition, used mainly for crimes involving treason and heresy. The condemned were usually tied to a stake or post, and sometimes the executioners controlling the flames would think they were like Zuko from Avatar and would prolong suffering by bending the fire to be hotter or less hot. More often than not, it was women accused of witchcraft that were the ones getting made into well-done stakes, while many witchcraft accusations came from village rivalries rather than the church itself. That bitch thinks she can call my hair nappy? We'll see who has the nappy hair after this. Hello? Yeah, I just saw Celine spawn frogs from her purse. Okay ma'am, we need a description. What race is she? I think she's black. We are on our way. People like Joan of Arc were accused by the church and fell prey to this practice, showing that nobody was safe from mankind's jealousy or hatred. Because if the French were willing to burn their best commander in front of a whole crowd just because she was a woman, then they would probably burn me for not thinking frog legs should be a food item. Number 5. Keelhauling. You can probably imagine that being stuck out at sea for weeks on end can make a person pretty salty, and as salty people do, they think about ways to punish the other salty people that made them get out there in the first place, or the people that are trying to stop them from committing crimes on water. Thus, keelhauling was born from the hatred of seamen. It was a form of execution where a pirate or Navy soldier would be tied to a rope, looped beneath the ship, and made to be the ship's underwear, getting wedgied across the ship's bottom, like a towel after one of my showers. What made this punishment suck so many toes was due to the barnacles, rough areas on the hull, and sharp jagged keel tearing into the flesh of the condemned as they were dragged underneath, where many victims died either from drowning or loss of blood during the execution, where any soldier found guilty of mutiny or insubordination was keelhauled by the government, and any pirate or sailor that were found by the opposing force got keelhauled too. You can say that seamen condemned to this punishment were in a sticky situation. Number 4. Scaphism. Milk and honey are probably some of the tastiest and healthiest things that God has ever put on this planet, but the Persians had to go and mess that all up. This nasty mode of execution was created by the Persians during the reign of King Artaxerxes for anybody that committed treason or murder. For crimes like this, the condemned would be strapped between 2 logs or a hollowed boat and were then given milk and honey until the criminal became visibly bloated. After they were done force-feeding the criminal with what would be their last meal, they would then coat them with honey and milk, and after it looked like the criminal just got bukkakied by a beehive and a female cow, they would then be left afloat under the scorching sun. The milk and honey served an important role in this form of execution, since it would draw insects toward the criminal and would slowly consume the victim alive over several days, or even weeks, to an agonizing and impending death. Number 3. Sawing. This was nothing like what you would see on Penn and Teller's Fula show, because in the minds of the Europeans and the Middle Easterns, sawing across your body wasn't painful enough. Nope, instead the poor victim would be hung upside down to ensure that all of the criminal's blood would flow straight to their brain, allowing them to keep the victim conscious for as long as possible to experience as much pain as possible. Then the executioners would proceed to cut vertically down, starting from the groin and ending with the head, ensuring that the suffering of the criminal would be extended for as long as humanly imaginable, making sure that they would feel every single cut. And I truly believe that there are almost no crimes that were ever performed on this planet that deserve this type of punishment, except for something like the Holocaust. But apparently, the actions that did deserve this type of punishment were treason, heresy, or murder. Unless the murderers sawed the nuts off of their victim too, I still don't think they would deserve this. Number 2. Flaying. One of the most nightmare-inducing methods of execution was flaying. It was like Lingchi, but with an unnecessary added step. Performed in places such as Assyria, ancient China, and some Native American tribes, the process of flaying started off with the executioners cutting outlines into the criminal's legs, arms, or face in order to avoid cutting out any vital organs. They did this to prolong the pain as long as possible. Then they would proceed to slowly rip the skin off of the accused in a gruesome display to the public. Look, I can handle a few cuts, like cutting my finger with a kitchen knife while trying to slice apart an apple, but if someone looked at my cut and just ripped it, I don't know what I would do. I'd probably just pass out. Okay, you guys are done with the cutting now, right? Are we good now? Am I good to go? Now, the gruesome crimes that gave the right to these civilizations to treat humans like food items on a seafood menu were treason, heresy, or rebellion. Hey, at least they didn't overreact with the punishments, am I right? Number 1. Drawing and quartering. This is, in my opinion, the most painful, terrifying, and gruesome execution that was ever allowed to exist in mankind's history. Practiced in medieval England against those accused of high treason, the condemned person would normally be hung until they almost reached the respawn screen. Then they would be disemboweled, castrated, or both if they were really feeling like it. And right where the execution should have ended for a second time, they would then have the audacity to tie the criminal to 4 horses, one attached to each limb, and drive the horses each into different directions to literally tear them limb from limb, leaving the poor victim on the ground as a sorry, disemboweled chicken nugget with a broken neck until they died from all of that unneeded torture. And keep in mind, this was performed in a public manner, so not only do they need to experience 3 different execution methods in one day, they have to do it while everyone is watching. If there was a picture to go right next to the definition of overkill, a picture of drawing and quartering would probably be it. Anyway, I think that this list teaches us that mankind becomes most creative when it comes to causing as much pain as humanly possible on another person. and to never underestimate human ingenuity when it comes to justly punishing criminals. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe, Poppy, and I'll see you in another episode.